are you going to tell a story about like how weird your family is? Because I got a weird family, right? And you heard me say that I'm married, and I know that's always a heartbreaker for the ladies that hear. Sorry. Just kidding. I'm married, and not only am I married, check this out, we got 4 kids, you know, we're like a baby machine, you know, just cranking them out. Like my wife's probably home pushing one out right now, who knows, you know, but here's the deal. My kids, they're not like normal kids. They're like, they're totally like weird, you know, and like I hesitate to say like they're bad kids, but they kind of are, you know, like if they were here right now, like they'd be lighting something on fire, you know, or like crawling under these tarps, you know, doing something bizarre and delinquent. And so I just want to share this one story about my son Toby, because I think it's relevant to what we're talking about tonight. We were at a restaurant a couple weeks ago, and this has become a habit. Unfortunately, it's not a one-time incident. But we're out at a restaurant, and a lot of times we're at a restaurant, it's like so fun to get out, and we don't have to cook for everyone, and like we just give the kids like crayons and soda and French fries, and we're just like, you know, just let us, with like me and mommy talk for a couple minutes. It's like kind of nice, and we're just kind of talking, having a good time, enjoying our food, and all of a sudden I'm like, where's Toby? You know, like Toby is my son. He's 3.5, and he's the most just, you know, he's a little screwy, and I'm like, where is he? And my wife starts panicking. She's like, I don't know. She's like, Toby, you know, like that kind of thing. And then he's like, I'm down here, and I look under the table, right, and he's down there, and he's just got sugar like all over him, and there's just empty sugar packets, like he's just tearing them, you know, not even enjoying it, just ripping them open, down them, you know. Just down in the sugar. And I reach out, I grab him out of there. I'm like, Toby, come on, man, what are you doing, dude? It's gonna kill you or make you fatter. Just relax, man. Like you're gonna just stop. You know that ain't right. You know. And he's just like looking at me. His eyes are like all like, you know, shooting back and forth. And I'm just sitting down. And so I think everything's kosher, everything's cool. And we kind of leave. We pack up and get all the kids in the car. And we're sitting in the car. And I look in the rearview mirror, right? And I see Toby goes like this. He goes in his jacket, and he starts taking out these sugar packets. I see him. He's like, you know, he's like candidly like trying to, you know, eat the sugar. And all of a sudden I stop the car. I'm like, Toby, you kidding me, man? Like you stole sugar? You're a thief, you know, like. And he like gets all scared. You know, he tries to like give me. He's like, you know, tries to make like me feel bad. I like take him. I'm like, I'm not gonna feel bad, man. Probably a pound of sugar, you know, you turd. And I take those sugar packets from him, right? And then I ask him, I say this, I'm looking in the rearview mirror, I'm like, Toby, man, I'm like, what do you love more? You love Jesus or sugar more? And he was like this, he like put his head down, he was like, I like sugar, number 1. He's like, candy, number 2. Jesus, number 3. Right? He just laid it out there, you know what I'm saying? He wasn't like making apologies for it, he was just being authentic and sincere. And here's the thing, man, in his little, you know, 3.5-year-old mind, that's fine, you know, because sugar probably, you know, that had some immediate effects that he really enjoyed. And he was being honest. Now, I tell you that because I think sometimes maybe we're not quite as honest with ourselves, right? Like if I were to ask you, like, what is the most important thing in your life? You know, if I were to give you a multiple choice test maybe and said, what's most important? God, you know, rock and roll or crack cocaine. You know, most of us would circle, you know, God, I guess, you know, like, or most of us, even if we asked you, what's the most important thing in the whole entire world, more important than anything else, a lot of us would say God, right? We'd say with our lips, what's most important? God. But if you look at our lives, it might not look like that. And I'm reading this book right now. It's an awesome book. It's called The Irresistible Revolution. And it talks a lot about just our call as Christians to really be involved with the poor. And not just be involved, like toss them a quarter once in a while, but like be involved with them. But he says this statement in the book. He says, if you ask people, if you walked up to any dude on the street and you said, hey, what is a Christian? Or like define what you think maybe a Christian is. Most people would be able to tell you like it's someone who believes in Jesus, you know, it's someone who loves Jesus, or someone who believes Jesus died on the cross for them, whatever. They can kind of define what a Christian is. But then if you ask most people the same, maybe even the same person, if you said, what does a Christian life look like? He said most people would kind of be like, I don't know. You know, it looks like my neighborhood. You know, it looks just like my life. It looks like, you know, and what he's saying is it's a tragedy that as Christians, those of us who say God is most important, that we'd say with our lips, God is number one in our lives, or God is the most important thing, it's a tragedy that our lives look just like every other person in the world. You know, for the most part, we do things the same. Our lips kind of speak the same words. We watch the same shows. We spend our money the exact same way. We spend our time the exact same way. We spend most of our time thinking about the same things. You know, like his like hypothesis is kind of like, if we're really in love with Jesus and God is really number one in our lives, then our lives should look a little bit different. There was a poll taken, one of those Gallup poll survey things taken about 10 years ago, and they asked Christians, people who said, I believe in Christ, I call myself a Christian, and asked people who call themselves atheists or non-Christians, and asked them that question first, are you a Christian, yes or no? And then all the rest of the questions were the same. They were, how do you spend your money? How do you spend your time? How do you spend your day? What things do you think about? What kind of shows do you watch? What things do you listen to? All these kind of questions, right? And then they compared them, and basically what they found is that regardless of whether they said they were a Christian or absolutely not a Christian, said their lives were virtually indistinguishable. The thing I want to throw out to you guys tonight is my hope would be that would change. Like the more and more we come to fall in love with Jesus, the more and more our lives would change because our hearts are being transformed because we're in love. The ministry that we're doing, Dirty Vagabond Ministries, there's a quote that John Paul II said. This quote has motivated this ministry in a way that no other quote has ever motivated me. The quote is this. Just hear this quote and I'm going to wrap it up, okay? The quote, John Paul II said, if the church holds back from culture, then the gospel will fall silent. See what I'm saying there? It's like, if Jesus is not breathed in every part of culture, then the gospel is going to fall silent. And I got to tell you that I feel like a part of our culture as young people that the gospel has fallen silent and continues to fall silent over and over again is the inner city with inner city young people. And the reason why is because a lot of Catholic churches, like they can't afford to have a youth ministry program. You know, and even if they can't afford a little bit, people don't want to go there because it's really, really a mess. Out of 19,000, almost 20,000 parishes in our country, okay, it's a lot of churches, Catholic parishes, less than 5, check it out, less than one handful have a full-time youth ministry program in the inner city. Like, that's really sad. I know that some of y'all came here to the youth group tonight. Some of y'all have been influenced by youth groups before. It is a sad thing that we can experience that, and yet there's just a whole chunk of people who are just not hearing the hope that we experience tonight because we can't afford it. That's sad. So my encouragement to you is this. As we're leaving tonight, I know you paid $10 to get in this concert tonight. Please know that goes to what we're trying to do. It's called Dirty Vagabond Ministries, and in a couple different cities in the country, we're opening up these centers where missionaries, guys like Mark Massive, have given 3 to 5 years of their life, made a commitment for the next 3 to 5 years to live in the inner city, in that part, in that center, right? And to do ministry, relational ministry, not waiting for someone to sign them up for a class, but going out to basketball courts, going out to the street, inviting these people into these centers, and just evangelizing them, you know, giving them hope, talking to them, building relationships, and raising up disciples. And we're hoping to do this more and more, but it's a completely independently funded thing. We're just relying on the church that you guys want to be generous. And so the challenge we want to give you is this. We've been calling it the Chimichanga Challenge, and it's kind of a stupid name, but what the point is this, as we're leaving. If you can, all right, and just hear this out, because I know most of the time as young people, no one ever asks you to give money, okay? But if you can, maybe even make a sacrifice. Like not just, like, I think true charity is not just giving like the lint-covered nickel out of your pocket to the poor, but might be even sacrificing something. So if you normally download a couple songs on iTunes every month, or if you get a chimichanga or a Starbucks Frappuccino, which costs like $20, you know, a week or a month, then what I'm asking you to do is maybe consider one thing, giving up one thing, a night to the movies. That ends up costing you like $30. Like just one of those things. Maybe can you sacrifice it? Where you say, this Friday instead of going out, I'm going to give the money